Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Don't you understand, George? It's because you were not born.
Film church.
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
You prayed up a lot of brick, Mama, but you only prayed for one man to build your chapel.
Hey, welcome to Film Church Radio, the podcast that treats cinema as a religion. It's Sunday, and I'm Branden.
And I'm Lewis.
And we're here to talk about movies. Each week, Lewis and I alternate picking a film for both of us to watch and discuss. Today, I picked the film from 1963, Lilies of the Field, directed by Ralph Nelson and starring Sidney Poitier. Always have to consciously think about how to pronounce his name so I do it correctly. But one correction from last week's episode, Sidney Poitier was indeed the first African-American male to win an Oscar for Best Actor, but Hattie McDaniel won Best Supporting Actress in 1940 and became the first black performer to win an Academy Award. She earned her award through her role as Mammy in Gone with the Wind in 1939, and she passed away in 1952. Now, before we discuss the film, we just want to say thank you to everybody that's been listening. We love you guys. We love that you love the show. Hit us up on all the social media. Send us a message. Check out our photos that we post. All of our social media is at Film Church Radio. And then you can also leave us a rating and review on whatever podcast service you listen to this on. If you would like to do so, we would much appreciate it. This part of the show, we do quick reviews where we just kind of talk about what we've been watching this week before we get into the movie. And I have been watching quite a few things this week, including some shows. One of which is Master of None. Now, I know you're a big fan of Master of None, Lewis.
Yeah.
I have been sort of a fan of the show, just because I've seen it in bits and pieces. I haven't actually done a sit down and watch the whole thing through, because I think when the show was first coming on, we had people living with us and they were watching the show, and I would come home from work and they'd be 2 episodes ahead of me, and I'd sit and watch an episode or whatever. And so and then by the time season 2 came out, I was like, well, I need to go back and watch season 1, and then never did. And so now I'm watching it, and I just got to season 2. That first episode of season 2, The Thief, that's in Italy in black and white. Oh my God.
Yeah, dude. It's incredible.
That was a great episode.
And I, if I remember rightly, doesn't it start off with him kind of knocking over a stack of Criterion Italian films when he's turning off his alarm as well?
Maybe.
Which I was instantly like, cool, yep, I'm in. Like, anyone that has Criterions that they've bought, I'm a sucker for it. So, yeah, the second season is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the best TV I've ever seen. So,
yeah, I can't get over how good the show looks. This is a comedian doing. It's a comedy, but it's also. I mean, it's also just about life, and it's kind of a drama too. But I mean, normally lots of comedians have done shows, right?
Yeah.
But I've never seen a comedian do a show that is so well shot, for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Artistically, the way it looks, it does not look like. It doesn't even. It looks better than some movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's done really well. And just the pacing and just everything about it is great. I'm loving it right now.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you're watching it.
Yeah. But as far as movies go, I watched 21 Jump Street, which is hilarious. I'd seen it when it first came out, but I hadn't watched it again. And by the way, it's done by the guys that did Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Mm-hmm. And it was probably one of their first successful movies, but Jonah Hill was the one that kind of produced the film and got it off the ground.
Yeah.
But it's so good. Such a good rewatch. Then I watched Girl Interrupted, which is on Netflix, which is pretty good. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I found the ending a little cliche.
I've never seen it, so I
Yeah.
I know the poster. You know, I felt like that was everywhere for a while. In like, when did it come out? Late 90s?
Early 2000s. Or no, late 90s. I think it was 99, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1999. But it's directed by James Mangold.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so if people don't know, he did Logan,
Yeah.
and he is about to be coming out with Indiana Jones 5. He's directing that.
Real
So,
cool.
yeah, it's one of his early movies, and has Winona Ryder, Angelina
Yeah.
Jolie, and Brittany Murphy in it. All are great.
Yeah.
And then you and I watched Jackass Forever together.
We sure did. Yeah, on a whim on a
Last-
Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, let's go.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, the highest grossing movie right now.
I mean, it's crazy. And
There's
I'm
not
sure
a lot of stuff out.
No, and I read that the budget, like, I mean, all the budgets are really low, but it's just like literally just a little bit over $1 million. So
Wow.
from opening day, they were already in the green.
They
It's
must have
insane.
not paid anybody anything.
I've got a feeling that most of the people that have signed on, especially like Knoxville and stuff like that, get a percentage of the gross.
Yeah.
That's probably just written into the contracts to like keep it as low budget as possible. You know, hey, you're going to
Yeah.
get a lot more if this makes money. So I'm sure that they're like raking it in right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's always super low budget. You know.
Yeah. And we didn't even really talk about the movie after it was over, but
Yeah.
just thinking back on like a couple of things that like kind of took it to the next level for me, because it's like it's always like with these movies, like how can you get any crazier?
Yeah.
But the stunt with the bees was insane.
Yeah. I think there's a lot. I got a feeling that, especially with like Erin and the cup and everything, there was a lot of stuff that they were like they were trying to get done in the last 3 films, and they just
Yeah.
for like reasons of, I don't know, like getting people insured or people willing to do it, they just couldn't get it done. So I feel like this is like, if we're gonna do it, that like we're gonna go all out.
Yeah.
You know, because I think about, it's in the trailer, the bit with the cannon, like
Yeah.
that is an insane stunt, and it's literally in the film for like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it is definitely, it turned up a notch. But it's so much fun to be like watching these people do horrible things to each other. It's just, you know, especially
Yeah.
in a cinema when we talk about, you know, audiences and stuff like that, especially hearing other people react around us
Yeah.
makes it. If you
Yeah.
watched it, it's like Pink Flamingos, right? If you watched it at home on your own, it wouldn't have the same. It doesn't have the same effect. I think we talked about that in the show. Whereas
Yeah.
like this, watching it with people, like it made it so much better. And I'm
Oh,
so
yeah.
glad that they
Yeah.
put it out in cinemas and, you know,
Yeah.
got
Well,
people
and
to go see
it's
it.
it's definitely not something I would have gone to see by myself.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we went together.
Yeah, me too.
Um,
Yeah, we both
but-
ordered food, which
yeah.
there was a point where it started, and the opening scene to it is pretty full frontal.
Yeah.
I guess.
There's lots of that in this movie.
Yeah, so like I kind of had to gauge if I could eat or not, depending on the opening
Yeah.
of the skit, you know.
Yeah.
And thankfully, the first few ones were just people being like, I don't know, bitten by a snake or whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, I can eat while this is happening.
Yeah.
You know, there's nobody shoving anything up any orifice. So
Yeah.
yeah, but there's a few
and
times
we
where I was like,
kinda-
I'm going to put this down and wait for the
Yeah,
next bit.
yeah.
You know.
Pause real quick. Yeah, and you and I talked about last week when we watched Sherlock Jr. about how people were saying that they owe a lot to Buster Keaton, but I mean, just mentioned Pink Flamingos. I think they owe a lot more to like gross out cinema and
for
John
sure.
Waters than
Yeah.
than Buster Keaton.
Which I know you said that when we came out of the cinema, and I've been thinking about that a lot. And then, funnily enough, I think Monday, someone I follow, not someone I know personally, tweeted that at the cinema that they work at, John Waters went to see it alone. Like he just walked in for like I think it was like a Monday matinee, bought like a small popcorn and a Coke and just went to go and see it on his own. And someone was like, I bet he's having the best time. And I bet he was. I bet he just loves it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine so. Man, that is awesome.
Because didn't he work with Johnny Knoxville as well at some point?
I don't know, maybe.
I think one of his, what was it? It's not Serial Mom. It's something, but is it Pecker? I think he might be in Pecker. I think he might be in Pecker. So, there's already that connection there. But yeah, it's definitely more John Waters than it is Buster Keaton, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and then so like I said, I did watch a lot of movies. After that night, I watched Nightmare Alley, which is on Hulu now. I mean, it just came out like a couple months ago. The new Guillermo del Toro movie with Bradley Cooper, and I liked it a lot. I liked the ending because it wasn't, your normal. I don't want to give too much away, but I did like the ending, and I thought it was good.
Yeah, it is good.
We'll probably talk more about some of these Oscar nominations on a special episode coming up soon. But what did you watch?
Yeah, so I mean, I watched Nightmare Alley as well. I was trying to get to see it in the cinema because I know that it didn't perform too well. I was trying to kind of, at least throw my $12 into the ring to kind of throw my support behind Del Toro, and especially like a noir film in this day and age is pretty special. But I did manage to finally see it at home, and it was one of those films where it is like 2.5 hours long. So when we started it, my wife was like, okay, we can maybe if we watch half of it and then leave the other half for tomorrow, don't break it down a little bit. But it was so good that we just kind of sailed on right on through. It does not feel like 2.5 hours. It kind of it sails by. And last year I watched the original because Criterion put it out, so I knew the story, but I think that he added to it really well. The bits that he did change worked really well. And I enjoyed a lot. So I think it is more similar to the book than the other film, which I liked. And Del Toro is so, I don't know, he just loves cinema.
Yeah.
So I just love to see him make these kind of films because he just loves it,
Yeah.
So that was good. And then obviously Jackass Forever we watched together. And then I finally watched Harold and Maude. Which was just, it was so good. I could just tell there's some films that as soon as it opens, Nightmare Alley was the same actually. As soon as the opening scene happens, I was like, I'm going to love this. I can just tell that I'm going to really enjoy this film. And Harold and Maude, it's like that. It's quirky, it's funny, it's really well directed, and it's just got a really nice message,
Yeah. Is it one of those movies that has a cinephile, once you watch it, a bunch of other movies finally make sense?
I guess it's kind of more, 70s cinema has never been my favorite era.
Yeah.
But trying to kind of see, especially after doing a bit of research, seeing the switch in direction and what people wanted to see and what people were making, I can definitely see why it was popular and why it stood the test of time. It's just so great, and a film that I can't wait to watch again. It's
sweet.
It'll be there, and I'll probably watch it again before the end of the year. I'm pretty sure because it's just I want to watch it again, And then TV wise, I've been watching Euphoria.
Yeah,
I haven't caught up with it yet. We came late to it, so I'm towards the end of season 1. and it's just it's crazy. It's so intense, and like everything is dialed up to 11, but it's just shot really well, and the characters get room to breathe. You know, I feel like everybody is like a fleshed out character, which I like a lot. So I'm enjoying it. I think it's good. I can see why it gets like a lot of attention. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those I'm gonna watch at some point, but I just haven't committed yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know we both watched Boba Fett. Which
we did.
Last episode was today, and
been thinking a lot about it.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was a little. I just don't know why we need all of this like actiony stuff. Like I was just like, we just show the whatever the one blue guy is. Like show him fight that guy, and that's good. Give us some good dialogue with these characters, and I don't need all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And then I love the Mandalorian, but like once he showed up in the show, it was just his show. That's all I cared about.
Yeah. Agreed.
Mm-hmm. So it ended with him, didn't it? Didn't it?
Yeah.
The last shot was like him was a Mandalorian, and
Grogu. Yeah.
Spoilers, Grogu.
Whoops, I didn't say I just jumped straight in. Sorry.
It's not good. But I'm like, I don't know how to feel about it. I mean, I love all the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going somewhere great.
Yeah.
I'm sure Luke will be in the Ahsoka show, so we'll get more Luke. But I hope that's not the end of Grogu and Luke.
Yeah, me too. I mean, okay, so especially with Boba Fett, right? This is my biggest thing, and we both love Star Wars. We've been to the midnight showing together. We've kind of talked about Mandalorian like all the time. We talk about Boba Fett all the time. For me, the trouble with Star Wars is they don't know when to stop doing fan service.
Yeah,
and it was the same with the last trilogy. I felt like some areas were trying to get away from it, and then the last film was just like, here's everything we think you want to see. And I think this kind of did the same thing again, right? Like I feel like the first 3 episodes especially, they weren't particularly thrilling, but the nuggets were there for an interesting story. We got to meet like some more Hutts, which was super exciting, right? Like the cousins or whatever of Jabba. When they showed up, I was like, this is going to be really cool. If the Hutts are trying to get back control, I'm in for that. That sounds great. The next episode, it was like, okay, you can have a Rancor, we're done. I was like, what is happening? It just felt rushed to get it. The whole point was just to get Mando and Grogu back together, right?
I mean, I guess, but why would you? Why?
Yeah. I feel like they had so much, they had so many chances to make this really good and to make this a character-driven study, Even if the Tusken Raiders being murdered and it turned out that it was the Spy Stealers or whatever they were called, that could have been the big thing. But instead it's just like, it's off to the side. It's a subplot. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, nobody cares. Like, in the end, it's just like, oh, okay, I'm Boba Fett. And it's like, nobody cares anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's not even your show.
I did notice that at the end of the... in the battle scenes, like Boba Fett finally puts his mask on for a lot of it, or his helmet, and I'm like, leave it on.
Ass. Yeah, it kicks ass. Yeah, but I mean, even like the Rancor stuff, I was like, okay, this is cool, but
they could have saved that.
Yeah, exactly.
They really could have saved
that. They didn't need it at all, really.
I mean, I thought the Rancor was going to turn against him because, like, Danny Trejo was like, he'll be back, all sinisterly, like he was training the Rancor to like actually kill him or something. That's what I was assuming.
Yeah,
but it was just like it was. I don't know.
So much.
I hope it makes sense. Like that's the thing about doing shows.
Yeah,
is that you can kind of course correct later.
Yeah,
once they get all the reviews in and stuff, but.
For this to be 7 hours long, right? If you think of a 7-hour movie, and so much of it was rushed, right? And so much wasted time. The only episode that you actually got to breathe was last week's.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even about Boba Fett. That was about Mandalorian. I just think that they like chickened out at the last minute,
Yeah.
and they felt that they needed to have Mando and Grogu.
Yeah.
Mando could have shown up for this episode, and I would have been, that's cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we didn't need, again, as much as I love Mandalorian, he's got his own show,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, that's
still
what I mean.
loved
That's
it, and I'm
my.
gonna watch it again, in the near future. But
It might be one of those shows too that's better when you binge it. I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
It's like having a week in between. I don't think did it any service.
yeah,
Might have been better just to binge the whole thing, but
yeah. And then as soon as it was over, they were like, "Hey, Obi-Wan Kenobi's coming out in like 3 months," and I was like, "Yep, I'm back in."
yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, they've got me for good, and this is like, it's not like I'm never gonna watch it again. I'm gonna definitely watch everything they put out that's Star Wars related.
Yeah.
Um,
At least once.
yeah, I just felt like I've said before, expectations were so high for this show, especially with me, and it just
Yeah.
yeah. it
Well,
was a shame.
especially after Mando season 2. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we all had our expectations high, but
Yeah, but I mean, he
You
rides
know.
a Rancor, so that's pretty cool.
it's yeah, it was cool.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't so bad that I wouldn't watch it again. I would watch it
yeah,
again.
no, exactly. I mean, these are just like,
It wasn't
Yeah.
terrible.
I think
Just
for it to get to, I mean, we've talked about Euphoria, we've talked about Master of None. For it to get to like, the best tier of TV, we need to have a bit more character-driven storylines. I think it can't always culminate in an hour-long battle at the end of every show.
yeah, Kenobi. We don't need a space battle in Kenobi, please.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
he's on Tatooine. Leave him there.
Yeah, he's dealing with
Yeah.
the fact that Anakin went dark. That's what I want. I want to see him dealing
Yeah.
with like what happened in Episode 3.
Yeah, he's
Please
just
and thank you.
going into saloons and drinking and playing
Yeah.
cards.
A
Trying
little
to
appearance from Yoda would be pretty cool.
yeah.
Maybe Qui-Gon.
Well, ooh, yep. Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no fan service. And I'm like, bring everyone back.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
All right. Well, I think we're ready to talk about the movie that we're here
Yes.
to talk about.
That's right.
1963, Lilies of the Field. IMDb summarizes it as a traveling handyman becomes the answer to the prayers of nuns who wish to build a chapel in the desert.
Yeah. First of all, it's a very strange film. And I'm
Yeah.
very surprised it got made.
Hmm.
I know that the budget was really low, and we'll probably talk about that at some point.
Yeah.
But there was the whole way I was like, I cannot believe this film got back in. Not that it's terrible, but just that it's how would you sell this film? A guy goes like that, like a handyman becomes the answer to the prayers of nuns who wish to build a chapel in the desert. Like if I wouldn't go and see that sight unseen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was very surprised that it got made at all.
Yeah. I think that from the few things that I read, Sidney Poitier liked the script a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of and also took a pay cut to get it made.
Yeah.
And it's based on a book
Okay.
as well. So
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
but yeah, I was a mixed bag with this film. I didn't totally love it.
Okay.
The performances was great. I mean, Sidney Poitier is like he's really good in the movie. Like he's acting in a way that I haven't seen him act before.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a lot more boyish. He's a lot more carefree and happy-go-lucky and kind of free-spirited and just a lot more fun, I guess. Yeah. And then a lot of his other roles are very serious. I mean, In the Heat of the Night is the one that I've seen most recently, and he's like an investigator.
Yeah.
And it's not like trying to. It's been a couple of years since I watched it, but like his smile isn't something that comes to mind. Whereas this movie, he's
Yeah.
smiling a lot,
Yeah.
and having a lot of fun. Like he's singing and things like that. So I can see why he, won for this movie. But the movie itself, I feel, wasn't very good.
Okay.
It just like there was a lot of things that just didn't make sense to me, especially when it comes to like the characters' motivations. I was just like, why? It didn't make sense to me why people were doing the things that they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I should go into that more right now, or we should, like, what did you think of the movie?
I mean, I think I had a better time with it than it sounds like you did. I did. At first, I was a bit like, what is happening? But then I just kind of like Sidney Poitier's performance is so, like you said, it's kind of boyish and just you can tell he's just having the best time.
Yeah.
And he's just having a blast playing this character. So I just sat with a big smile throughout. I was just like, I'm watching like a really good actor really enjoy what he's doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think, I know I don't really want to talk about our personal religious leanings here.
Yeah.
But I think that this representation of religion is something I enjoy a lot.
Yeah.
It's the very much bare bones. You know what I mean? It's like we are here to spread God's message. And he will provide if we believe that he is there. It's not like we're giving all this money, blah, blah, blah. It's like the good of people, regardless of you believe in God or not, the good of people comes through in the end. And I love that. I love that message. That's the kind of religion I can get behind and that I enjoy seeing on screen. So for me, it kind of, all the worries I did have going into it, I don't think any of them were realized, which was great. I did enjoy it a lot, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it just felt like there was something missing for me. I don't know. I've been trying to figure out what it is. Like that there's a lot of times with religious films, it seems like God is more of a character in the film, Like it seems like the fact that God isn't really a character would be something that I liked more, because it would be more of a not trying to push anything on the audience, just trying to let these characters be these characters. I think the main thing for me is it's like by the end of the movie, besides the chapel being built, there is no other reason for this movie to exist. Like none of the characters really learned anything. I mean, they weren't, they didn't convert Homer Smith to Catholicism. I mean, he was already he says he's a Baptist through the whole movie. He already believed in God, and like, so he's not a changed man.
No.
Like he doesn't seem like he's learned anything. The nuns don't seem like they've learned anything. I mean, there's the and I had this thought when I first watched the movie. I was like, the character, usually in a movie, like, characters are in a different place than where they started.
Yeah.
But at the end of this movie, these characters are exactly where they were, other than there's a chapel now.
Yeah.
Which is not a character.
Yeah.
So I think it just felt very, I mean, I did enjoy watching the movie, but I don't feel like it was a good movie. And when I'm like looking at it critically, I guess.
Yeah.
Like when I was watching it again this morning, I noticed that because I was like trying to figure out this idea of like what is the point of this movie? There's nothing, like, we didn't do anything. I mean, they built a chapel. Yes, that's the point of the movie. I get that they built the chapel. That was their goal. But like, nobody learned anything. Like, especially the mother, or the head nun. I guess she's called a mother, right? Or he calls her mother all the time, like, throughout the movie.
Yeah.
at the end of the movie, he tricks her into thanking him.
Yeah.
Like, which is kind of a character change, but not really. Like, because he tricked her to saying it, so she really didn't necessarily learn anything. Like, she puts all of her faith in God, obviously, and the chapel was built by God, not by Homer Smith and 40 other people that helped him.
Yeah.
But even, where did I put this note? Like, there's something that he says. Towards the very end of the movie, he's sitting at the table. He's not really smiling. He's just kind of waiting there, and all the other nuns are like, "Smile, Schmidt," and they're like, "This is like the first time that you came here," and he says, "Nothing's changed." Like, he literally says nothing has changed. So, that for me made me realize, okay, well, at least they're self-aware. Like, obviously the people who made the movie are self-aware that these characters have not changed. I just don't know why. Like, I don't know why you would make that choice, I guess. Like, if there was a scene where the head nun, Maria, if there was like a scene where she was praying, or where you could actually see her faith being tested in some way, or like, something at least to give her character a little more, just something a little more. I just felt like it was missing that thing that made it feel like there was stakes involved. Because really through the whole movie, it never feels like there's any stakes involved. Like, no one's on the brink of losing their faith, which is fine. Obviously, like, people who believe in God don't want their faith to be tested, but I mean, it's a movie. Like, that's the point. You know what I mean? But even like when he decides to leave, we don't know why he decides to come back. He just shows back up. You know what I mean? And there's nothing. It didn't make sense to me I didn't know what was driving these characters in their decisions. And even when he comes back, he's like, why the heck did I come back? Like, you never get that answer. And so nothing that the characters do to me made any sense at all. So that was like for me, that's just where it all fell apart. And I'm sitting here like, okay, why? Because other things about this movie are really good. Like I said, the acting is really good. Yeah. And the cinematography is awesome. Like for a low budget movie, like, these guys took their time and got some really cool shots for scenes that didn't really have a lot going on in them. They still made it look good. So I guess I'm just a little disappointed, to say the least.
I mean, for me, watching it, especially when it ended, I was just it gave me the feelings of like one of those stories that you hear, like older men tell. When I was 20, I was traveling through wherever, and I stopped and I helped build this church. It to me, it just had a feeling of like a story we were being told by Homer. It was like he was telling us this story from the future. He was like, when I was out of the army or whatever, this is like how I spent my summer one year. And I think the fact, it says a lot about religion without saying a lot. And I think that's why these characters was the motivation behind it was to do with, like, for Homer, I don't think that he left and then he got, like, his conscience kicked in and was like, if I'm not going to do it, no one is. Not that he said it explicitly. But isn't that like an act of God, right? Isn't that kind of the nun's point, is that God provided Homer for them and he was going to see it out regardless. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the point, is that the undoubting faith got it made. As much as, religion, it doesn't hit you over the head with it, but, and I think that he got a lot out of it as well, right? I mean, he left and he was, just before he started singing this song, I think he could tell that they weren't going to forget him. He was going to be talked about for years to come. Even though he wrote his name on the top of the spire, I think that, everybody in that town would be talking about Homer Schmidt for the next 50, 60 years,
Yeah. I don't know. It didn't. I mean, I get all of that. Like, I can see all of that, but for me, it just didn't hit.
Yeah, just didn't hit the right notes for you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which sucks because I want it to.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But I am a huge fan of people talking about religion. People this explaining why their faith is unwavering, why they believe as strongly as they do. People kind of being put through these tests and always kind of I find stories like that fascinating because there's so much that people attribute to God and kind of religion, but some of it must be like willpower. Do you know what I mean? Some of it is like that.
Yeah,
you dream it, it happens.
Yeah, see, that's okay. Mother Maria, her character, she does have like all that willpower and all the faith, and she prays a lot, but we never actually see her praying. And at the end or towards the end when they're in the chapel and the priest comes and he's looking at it for the first time and she's like listing off all these things, like you can see that like everyone is like, wow, I can't believe that it happened and you got it made. And her character is just kind of like, well, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
I told you. And it doesn't seem like her faith was tested. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like I should have liked this movie more. You know what I mean? Because, like you said, it's, the religious aspect of it isn't, it's a part of the characters. It's not really necessarily a part of the story.
Yeah.
But I guess I wanted it to be a part of the story a little more, which is surprising to me because I guess, it doesn't. Yeah, it didn't like I said, the characters weren't. The characters were just the same through the whole movie.
Yeah. Do you think her refusal to, to change as a person, has got something to do with her Germanic background? Do you think that the fact that she's a German nun is playing into the stereotypes of Germany around this time? 20 years before we're in the Second World War, these images of Hitler and, the kind of in uniform, very regimented Germans were everywhere. Do you think that the fact that it can't be a coincidence that they're German, right? That's what I kept thinking throughout. I think that, and then the scene at the end where she's like, "Oh, you haven't screwed down the pews," and he's like, "I've done it," and she's like, "Well, you haven't done this," and he's like, I've done it all." I think that is where you see her like, I don't want this guy to leave.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah,
that's the real like gut punch, and I think at the end, instead of thanking him for building it, she's actually thanking God for sending him, right? When he's walking out the door, she looks up as if to say, thank you, thank you for sending him for us. Yeah. There's a bit of a change as opposed to, thank you for building this church for God, and now it's thank you, God, for sending him to us.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose there probably is a lot of subtext in this movie that I'm not considering, or that I didn't consider watching when watching it for the first time.
Yeah.
Which is also something that I want in movies. Like I don't necessarily want people to spoon feed me.
Yeah, exactly.
While watching films, I want to be able to read the subtext and know all the stuff going on around it. I mean, there is a shot. My favorite shot in this movie is when I think it's when she's like trying to figure out where they're going to get more materials, and it's like nighttime, and she's in the kitchen by herself, and there's just a shot of the long table, in the foreground of the shot is the table, and then the shot goes all the way down the table. The shot's still, but the whole table is in the shot, and then at the end of the table, Mother Maria is sitting there, and her hands are in her face. And then I think he's like listening to the radio, and she like kind of starts to look up and then looks outside. But it's a quick shot, It was a really good shot, but it was quick. I guess I probably just wanted, I think sometimes for maybe it was just the editing. It's like sometimes for me to connect that there's more to read in a shot or a scene or a character's performance, it just needs to be held longer. Yeah. You know what I mean? For you to say, oh, there's something deeper here, and give you time to think. You know what I mean? And this is a tight movie. Like, this is an hour and 34 minutes. So, maybe if it was 2 hours and you just kind of changed the pacing up a bit, slowed it down a little bit. I mean, because there are a lot of good scenes with these. Like, these are good characters and stuff. Mm-hmm. I just felt like personally that they should have done more with them. But maybe it's just that. Maybe it's just there's subtext and there is change in the characters. I just wasn't reading it right. Because I am an editor too, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I cut things a certain way. And I mean, like, the scenes with Homer in the diner were great with him ordering food and that kind of thing. I mean, when he shows back up and he goes back into the diner, like, he seems like one way, and then he goes back into the diner, and then all of a sudden he's like hungover, I guess, or something, and he's like his eyes bleeding, and I was like, okay, what happened? And maybe there is more there. Like, maybe there's just way more answers there than I realize. I just need someone really smart to tell me. I don't know.
I think that's like where me and you kind of talking about films work so well. It's because you come from it from more of a filmmaking side, and like you pay attention to like the editing and kind of the people that would have made that decision and kind of stuff like that. Whereas for me, it's more the history of it. It's hard to watch a film from this period, especially 40s and 50s. Right now we're kind of getting into the dregs. But if you hear a German accent in a black and white film from the 40s and 50s, money's on they're going to be pretty horrible come the end of the film. Just because of everything that's going on in Europe. So it's hard to, like, when I heard that German accent and there were nuns, I immediately got all this pretext from, other films of the period.
Yeah.
And, he does even call her Hitler at one point, right?
Yeah. And she calls him Hitler, too.
She does, yeah.
She does it back.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there was just a lot. I mean, obviously it's a different time. Maybe there was a lot of subtext in there about, just prejudice, on both sides, like, prejudice towards African Americans and then prejudice towards German Americans, because I'm sure that they weren't treated well. Like, anytime there's, conflict going on somewhere overseas, I mean, we saw it just, these past couple of years with the coronavirus, a lot of hate being directed towards Asian people, Asian people that live in America that don't have anything to do with
exactly
all this stuff,
Yeah.
So it could have been trying to fight some of those perspectives, some of those American perspectives at that time.
And like you said, it is like subtext. I mean, even race in this film is not ever. I mean, there's a few instances where you're like, oh, is that the way we're heading? You know, where the I forget, is he a construction manager? I can't remember exactly his title.
He like owns a construction business or something. Mr. Ashton.
Yeah, where he calls him boy.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a kind of, you feel the, like, oh, God, like, is this where it's going to go now? But it never does. I mean, it just shows, I think, again, it shows the care and, like, love for one another that people have. And I think that casting a black male as Homer, I don't know if he was, a black guy in the book as well.
In the book, yeah.
But if this was purely cast, I think that's a touch of genius, because I think it already kind of takes away any prejudice that you might have, instead of it's about loving one another and, helping just for the sake of helping, right? Cause,
I mean, a community coming together to make something.
Yeah, exactly.
To accomplish something. Yeah.
I mean, by the end, it's 3 different nationalities that have all come together.
Yeah.
To build this thing.
I didn't even think about that, because you had 3 different languages going on in some of those scenes. I didn't even think about that. I mean, I did think about it when she was speaking German and they were speaking Spanish, but then I didn't think about, like, oh, there's English going on here too, so there are 3 different nationalities.
I did find it really funny when he finally accepts help to build the church, and the way that that scene was done really well. How it kind of followed him pretty closely, and then the camera shifted back, and then when we went back, there was like already a line formed, of people doing it, and then he went, and was it the woman that went and grabbed the brick from him and kind of went to pass it off, and he was like, "Oh, I just give up." Everyone's here helping. Yeah. That was done really well. I thought, you can feel this is the only way that they're going to get him to help him, is to like just to start doing it around him, and be like, this is going to make your job easier.
I was with that stuff. I was with that, like that was done really well. But then right after that, then he's just like mad that everybody's helping.
Yeah,
which I didn't understand. That was another weird character move for me, because I was like, well, why? Like, it's an interesting place to go, but we don't get any. Like, the motivation didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he decides to help because they're fighting, and he's going to be the manager now. But it's like, wasn't he going to do that before? Like, it didn't make the jump to it just didn't work for me, I guess.
I mean, maybe I'm reaching a little bit, but maybe it's just pride. Maybe, seeing the nun's reaction when he got out his toolbox right at the beginning, the fact that he was teaching them English, like, he probably thought himself a bit of a prophet, right? He was coming and like showing them new things and kind of being their savior. Yeah. So to accept help from everybody else, it kind of, for that moment.
He does seem like a very independent person. I mean, that's another, cool thing about this movie is it's, the representation of a independent black man, making his way in the world on his own, a professional.
Exactly. He's got skills.
He's standing up for himself when the guy calls him a boy, he calls him a boy back. So I guess it can make sense for the character. I don't know, maybe I'm just being like, I did want it to be spoon-fed to me, I guess.
I don't think so. I mean, these are all kind of like that.
I'm white, help me understand.
I mean, the point I just made, I didn't really think about when I was watching it. It's just when we were talking about it, that came to my mind. So it's, I with films like this, it's always, sometimes it is surface level, and we dig in to kind of see what else there is in there. You project your own experiences and thoughts onto it. But I don't know. There's something about this time and casting a black actor as the male lead. And kind of building that story around that. I'm like, it can't have been a coincidence. There must be something deeper here for us to get, and maybe to audiences in 63 is a little bit more obvious.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But for us, thankfully, I know that we're both of a progressive mindset. We both kind of think the same way, thankfully, as do many other people. And about equality and everything, but maybe this was just a little bit more obvious to audiences then that weren't so progressive.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The film was nominated for. So it was nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
It was nominated for Best Actress in a Supporting Role for Leela Scala, who played Mother Maria. It's nominated for Best Writing and Best Cinematography, and obviously Best Actor, which he won. The movie just won the one Academy Award.
Yeah. I sent you a photo earlier. I've been listening to one of his. I know he wrote 3 or 4, I think, kind of like memoirs. So I've been listening to one of those, and he doesn't mention Lilies in the Field directly when he's talking about it, but he does talk about the fact that like he wanted to take roles that his father would be proud of, and like characters that I don't know, were a bit more kind of like spiritual, I guess. So I can see definitely when he was talking about that, kind of the relation to this character is that, he is a Christian, well, a Baptist. He's, God-fearing, kind of hard-working guy. And yeah, we do see him, drink, and he is a smoker. I don't think we see him smoke on screen, but she asks when he first goes in if he smokes, and he says yes.
Yeah.
Not that was seen as terrible as it is now, but there's definitely, what I'm trying to say is that this would have been a very wholesome character for other people to see on screen, and that when he was talking about playing characters his father would be proud of, I was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense as to why he not only sought out this film, but wanted to make it so bad, took a massive pay cut, right, and like put his name forward because it's like a Poitier character. It's who he is, I bet. So,
yeah.
And I think that's why I got so much joy from watching it, was because you could see him being him.
Having a good time doing it. Yeah. I mean, definitely, like, for me, he's the thread of the movie that keeps it all together. 100%. I mean, it's like, without him, the movie was already falling apart for me, but without him, the actor and his performance, it would have been
dead in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Need to build a grave next to that chapel.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, what you were saying about audiences and the way that they're reacting to this movie, I mean, there is a lot of funny stuff in this movie too, and I feel like a lot of that stuff probably hit a lot harder too, as far as like, big crowds watching it together.
Yeah.
I mean, just the whole part where they're like after they finish the chapel and all the men are just like drinking and dancing, and all the women are just standing there, just like looking so bored.
Yeah, exactly.
And disappointed.
Yeah.
And then like even one of the women makes a comment like, every time they build something, always dancing. It's like, why aren't the women dancing though?
Yeah.
And then like the next morning, the Mother Maria just throws the water in his face, and it's just like the only thing that works for mixing tequila and wine.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of funny stuff in this movie. Like it's fun to watch. I mean, I'm being very critical of it just as a storyteller and as a viewer breaking down these characters, trying to figure out what the point of it all was, I guess,
Yeah.
And I think this might be a movie that I grow to like more, as I get older and as I consume more cinema, going back and watching. I think I will go back and watch this, in a few years.
And I think it's hard for it not to be shaped by our own perception of religion.
Yeah, for sure.
It's. I mean, again, I know we've personally talked about it a lot, so
yeah,
it's strange.
I
imagine this is the kind of film that they would show in a Sunday school, or in a Christian high school or whatever. Something. it's like
a positive.
Yeah, it's a very, like you said, it's kind of religion is the only thing that kind of matters at the end of the day.
And it's like a good movie to like in a religious institution discuss, and be like, what did we learn about faith?
Yeah, exactly.
Having faith in God, and
you're moving all out.
I just
to the
felt, like I think other people can learn something from watching this movie, but I just felt like the characters didn't learn anything, and it annoys me.
No, I know what you mean.
But yeah, so Ralph Nelson, the director, was the guy that played Mr. Ashton. Actually, I didn't realize that until looking through IMDb, because he didn't even credit himself in the movie.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense. I mean, not. I mean, I don't know if it makes sense, but I mean, he's definitely the most hateable character, I guess. Like, he's kind of racist and stuff, and a lot of times directors will just be like, "I don't want anybody else to have to do this. I'll do it."
Yeah.
And there's a scene where he's passing out checks, and he says Popkin, Sherman, as he's handing out the checks, and those are the two assistant directors.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Which actually, my girlfriend Sarah pointed out, she caught it during the movie. Like she remembered those names, and then went during the credits, she was like, "Oh, those names he called out were the assistant directors."
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool.
She always pays attention to little details like that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
So those are some cool little trivia points. Yeah. Like there was nothing else that really stood out to me as far as, I mean, the music was good. Like all the singing stuff was good. It the Amen song, they kind of turned that into a theme throughout the movie. Like the score, like they turned it into, like there's a lot of the score is the same kind of theme. But actually, Sidney Poitier's singing in Amen was dubbed by Jester Harrison, who composed the song. And he is also known for playing Raleigh in Sherman Hemsley's television sitcom Amen, 1986.
You can kind of tell.
I didn't realize. For me, I was just like, oh, he has a good voice.
I don't know what it is about the record. You can the recording just doesn't sound natural. I don't know whether it's kind of like the background noise kind of gets like cut out or something, but when he starts singing, it feels like it's in a different tone.
Room.
It does a little bit.
Don't have enough of the outdoor noise and stuff. Apparently, in his autobiography, Poitier says that he is tone deaf.
Okay.
Unable to sing on key.
Wow.
So,
good job they did dub it, because that might have ruined his chances at getting that best Oscar.
Yeah. They would have been like,
man, this performance is great until the singing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do love, I mean, that song is really good. And when they started singing it again at the end, I was like, oh no. Because it is a little bit long, and I was like, I don't want to kind of see the same thing rehashed. But then when he did walk out and kind of left them just singing Amen, it felt a good way to end it, a good way for him to kind of leave. It was very cinematic. It was very, for the point of the plot, I guess. But for me, it did work really well, bringing that back and having him kind of leave them to it, pretty much praising him or praising God, whichever way you look at it.
Yeah. Because they don't have like an emotional like hug or but like this movie, it makes sense for this movie because they never really, because there's all of that stuff is just kind of in the subtext like we've been talking about.
And he kind of leaves them with the point of why he was there. He's left them with a little bit of joy, right? Because before, the hymns are very by the book and kind of the kind of things you would hear in church, and this is a little bit more modern and upbeat and, still has the
Yeah.
same message, but it's a little bit more fun. And I think, him leaving them with that, again, speaks to the impact he's had without it being said.
Like, it also bothered me that they didn't pay him.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, because that did seem like his motivation, but then I don't know what does become his motivation. And then there's this scene where she's, she comes in and she's like, is this done? Is this done? He's like, it's all done.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's all finished. And then she kind of has this look of like, oh crap, God didn't send me the money to pay you. Like, but he doesn't bring it up. I'm like,
yeah. I don't know. I know I said it earlier, but to me, it's just that feeling of without him, it wouldn't have been done.
yeah,
He's moving on to something that's, he's obviously driving somewhere.
yeah,
So this whole stop off was just, another story to tell, on his
Yeah.
road trip, I think. Maybe it's just that's the fact that I've been watching a lot of 70s films and kind of getting into it, but this whole, just traveling America and having these stories to tell are kind of the whole point.
Yeah.
Especially the start of the 70s, the Born to be Free and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
maybe, again, I'm just projecting that onto it, but yeah, like I said at the beginning, it just feels like he's telling us this story. He's like, this one time I was driving through the desert, right? Saw these nuns, stopped for water. You would not believe what happened.
Yeah.
Be like, cool, tell me the story.
Yeah. Like I said, I think I'll enjoy it more the more I watch it.
Yeah.
As
a
the
perfect
rewatches.
Sunday afternoon, family-friendly film.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. If you wanted, to please grandma, 7-year-old, whoever you've got in the house on a Sunday, put on this film. Everyone's going to like it. Mostly
Except
everyone.
me.
Yeah, if Brandon's there, he'll hate it.
I didn't hate the movie.
No.
Love it.
Yeah.
But
But that's good. I mean, it can't love everything you see.
Yeah. One of the funniest things that I found out looking up this movie is the director Ralph Nelson in, I think it's 86.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, 1979. Sorry. In 1979, he made a TV movie titled Christmas Lilies of the Field,
Oh.
starring Billy D. Williams.
Oh, dang. Homer Smith returns to the chapel. Once
This was
again,
before he was Lando.
yeah. Doing TV movies.
I think it was supposed to be a pilot for a TV show that kind of continues the story.
Yeah.
But people hated it, and they only made the pilot.
Oh. I mean, I did think there was a point in me when he walked out the door. I was like, this would be pretty easy to make a sequel to.
Yeah.
If it had done really well,
Yeah.
Because it could be like, oh, we now need a school for the nuns or whatever. But obviously that was a bad idea. So
Yeah.
this is why I don't make movies.
Well, it might not have been a bad idea. It just might not have been
Executed
done
well.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been a bad script, or who knows.
Yeah. Well.
I mean,
And the fact that they've
been.
just added the word Christmas to the front of the title. Just
Why not just call it Lilies of the Field?
Yeah.
If it's a TV show, but
Yeah.
it's like Bad Mom's Christmas.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Oh, God, isn't there what's the dad one that's like Christmas as well? I can't remember.
Christmas Dads? I don't know.
I don't know either. Just ignore me.
I'm sure it's out there.
I'm going to look it up now and it's not going to have Christmas in the title at all. I'm just going to be like, oh, okay.
It's gonna be like
Oh,
it's
dear.
gonna be like Halloween Dads.
Oh, my God. Is there anything else that you want to say about this film?
I don't
Brian,
think so. I
Brian?
think I pretty much covered it. I know that I ripped it apart, and I apologize.
No,
I
I don't-
did. I mean, I'm just being highly critical. I did have a good time watching this movie.
I don't think you
Just
ripped
so
it
you
apart.
know.
Yeah, I don't think you ripped it apart. I think that you know.
I'm just trying to like be more. I mean, the point of like watching films and watching films that you might not normally just watch on a whim is to like, try to figure out what your taste is, and then if a film isn't totally connecting with you, trying to figure out what it is it's not, because it kind of helps you learn about yourself too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and break it down
and this is also right up my alley. It's black and white. It's classic Hollywood. It's a big star.
yeah.
Before, I mean, he was famous at this point, but Oscar-winning performance. It was. I was bound to love this film.
Yeah.
Or enjoy it at least. So.
If you get a chance to watch Sidney Poitier's Oscar win on YouTube,
Yeah.
it's really good. I mean, it's only like 2 minutes long, but I'm
Yeah.
going to add it to the Film Church Radio playlist on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, I watched it actually before we jumped on to record. And then I watched Denzel presenting him with his, was it Lifetime Achievement Award?
Yeah, well, it wasn't a
honorary
Lifetime
Oscar?
Achievement, but it was like an honorary Oscar.
And that was really touching.
Yeah.
Just to, not only to kind of be like, I did make great steps forward. He was like, actually, it was all these people that helped, put me in these positions that were people of power, that were white, that were progressive enough to do it. And I was like, yeah, you don't think about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's just, from the book that I've been listening to, because he reads it as well, which is really entertaining. Like, he is just so eloquent and like can just beautifully, put out a sentence. So his speeches are really good, is what I'm trying to say.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
He in one of the interviews I watched, he was talking about his going to win that Oscar, and he didn't think he would get it. It wasn't even on his mind. He was like, it was the first thing from my mind, and like me getting the nomination was like, I'll just go enjoy this party. There's no way I'm getting it. And yeah, it just totally took him by surprise. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, amazing. I love film history when it's like that. When it's good film history.
Yeah. Definitely. Awesome. We did it. Lilies of the Field.
Yeah, another one down.
Next week, Christmas, Lilies of the Field.
How did you guess?
But no, seriously, what are we watching next week?
Yeah, so I know that we've talked a little bit about like me struggling for films to pick. Not struggling as such, just kind of trying to, I don't know, go down a, find something that's relevant and kind of go down a thing that I know we both want to see. So the Oscar nominations were announced earlier this week.
Yes.
And one of the films on that list, I was like, first of all, I was like, I'm going to pick a film from the Oscar list that I know we both haven't seen.
Okay.
And the film I picked was nominated for 3 Academy Awards. Best Documentary Feature, Best Animated Feature Film, and Best International Feature Film. Weird, right?
Weird,
First time that's ever been done. And the film
strange.
is Flea from 2021, spelled FLEE. And it tells, well, we can go into it a little bit next week. I don't want to give too much away. I always kind of jump into it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's streaming for free on Hulu right now.
Sweet.
So everyone can see it. It's a cool 89 minutes long. Love that. And it's film history. No film has ever been nominated for international documentary and animated film at the same time. So we're going to be watching a bit of film history here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's why I chose Flea.
Yay. Yeah, there was a lot of head scratching when I read that list.
Yes. I mean,
But we'll talk about that later.
stay tuned.
Just like, I mean, I got some of them, but then the rest was like, why is this on here and
Yeah.
this other movie isn't?
Yes. Exactly. Me too. Yeah.
It was a strange year, man. It was
Exactly. Yeah.
it was yeah. My association with like the Oscars is usually like I've gone and watched movies all year, and
Yeah.
I've not this year. I've
Mhm.
gone to see some, but like I don't have any context for like I'm used to seeing movies in a theater with people, and like that gives me context of like people like this movie.
Yeah.
You know, I don't usually read a ton of reviews and stuff. I just go see movies and I read people.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that this year.
Yeah. I mean, I was quite surprised that, especially recently, I'd knocked quite a few of the heavy hitters off the list. Like there wasn't a lot that I either haven't heard of or haven't seen this year. But again, that kind of shows, I don't know, how minor. I mean, we're going to talk about this on another podcast.
We'll deep dive.
Sure.
We'll deep dive.
I just find it amazing that, like, out of all the films that are released all over the world, Nicole Kidman gets nominated. There, I've said it. That's it. It's out there.
You let it out.
Yeah, sorry.
You said too much.
Okay. We might as well end here, Brandon, because I think I'm going to get hate mail.
Amen.
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 That's the end, folks.
Yeah. I think we jumped the gun for that bit a little bit.
I did. You were supposed to say it, but the timing was right because you said it's time to end, and I said amen.
You did, and I was cool, we're doing it. So we can cut this out in post. We
flip-flop characters.
Yeah. Okay. Take 2.
I'm not going to cut any of this. I'm just going to leave it.
Oh, dear.
Just kidding. I'll cut it.
Wink.
We can do it again if you want.
Well, I was waiting for you to do the outro.
Oh yeah. I've got like all these. I've got like the next week and big highlights because a couple of weeks ago I forgot to ask ask you what we were watching next week. Now this week I forgot to do the outro. So
next week
that's going to have to do. I'm going to have to do the same thing.
Yeah, I can't wait for like
the whole thing just to be highlighted.
It's just going to be the title of the film we watch that's going to be lowercase.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know it's coming. This is the end of the show.
Seamless.
You've known it for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Of course, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Film Church Radio, where you can follow us there. And then you can also... We're doing so well.
It's been a long week already, and we're not even at the end of it.
Yeah. You can follow us individually on Letterboxd at Selman Scope and at Walker Lewis 3007, the year Lewis was born, to keep up with what we've been watching. We also have our back episodes streaming. All right, now I'm just laughing. All right, we also have all of our episodes streaming on all of our podcast services, so you can, listen to us, obviously, and leave us a rating and review, so we know that we have listeners, and we can tell our significant others that we have to keep doing the show.
Yeah, please.
So, also, you can leave us a comment and tell us what you want us to watch. Like if there's something you're interested in hearing us talk about. If you follow us on Letterboxd, you can look at our watch history and see what we've watched. If you follow us, like if you actually make an account and then follow us and look up a movie, it'll show you if we have watched it or not. So if there's a movie that both of us haven't seen, you can suggest it to us. Yeah, if you've listened to enough of our episodes, you might know what Lewis and I both like to watch and what maybe you can throw us something that we won't like to watch just to mess with us.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, that brings us to the end of the show.
Yeah.
I think it's time we end.
I think so too, Brandon. Amen.
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 Praise Film Church Radio.
Holy Film Church. Batman.
Just pulling everything in now. Every pop culture reference.
That's right. All right, folks. Have a good Sunday watching the Super Bowl if you're into that.
Maybe an Obi-Wan trailer. Fingers crossed.
Ooh, yes,
later today.
hopefully so.
That'd be good. Bye.
All right. Bye.